following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year, Easton, and Topic Time in 2024. This is my second show. My first one was last night at Area 58 in beautiful Carver, Mass. to LA. What a show that was, and what a show we're going to have tonight. We have one of the guys that is associated with the WATP dudes that profiled me last year. Well, actually in late 2022. They got me 12,000 new followers and counting. That's Vinnie Paulino. But before we get to him, got to read these incredible underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So we have the McGee Annex in Rockland. Used cars, don't get abused. Shop Kevin McGee Used. For a story, go to the library. For real wholesale prices, call Kevin McGee. We have Diesel Plus Unlimited in Whitman. We have Johnny Macaroni's Restaurants, two in East Bridgewater and one in Halifax. We have Lynch's Towing Auto Cycle and Truck Center in Brockton. One number for towing, one number for project. My pal Lynch is always looking for new wheels, scrap metal, anything to do with transportation. He does it all. We have Furnace Brook Motors right here in Easton. Can't get a better deal than those dudes in Easton. We have One Good Credit. That's Furnace Brook Motors cars. We have One Good Credit in Brockton. We have Eli's Auto Care in Taunton. We have Pals Driving School in Middleborough, now setting up classes for January, February, and April. Better get on that and check the website. We have Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We have Tom Auto in Middleborough. We have Easton Fitness in the Village Shops in Northeastern. We have the Gun Runner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough. We have RW Carpet and Flooring in Norton, covering floors for 50 years. We have the Rug Resort in Northeastern, cleaning today for a healthier tomorrow. We have Doggy Boutique, all breed professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next door neighbor, Debbie Siddle in Brockton. And we have Joe's Diner in Taunton. And I want to thank you guys very much. And now, Vinnie Paulino, how you doing? We've been talking about getting you on the show for a while, and now here you are in that colorful pawn shop of yours. All you guys in Rochester have pawn shop backdrops for your shows, and I gotta love that.
Is that what you think this is? This
No,
is
I know,
a pawn
it's
shop
not,
backdrop?
It kind of does look, well, say, I don't know if you know this, but it was ironic because it was 1 year ago today that I interviewed Kyle Hamburger at my Area 58 location, and that show has 5,200 plus views now.
Oh man, you are going to be slumming it today, unfortunately, Harrison.
Well, I don't know about that. Are you by yourself? Is there someone behind you? I think I see another moving figure.
Nope, that's just me. I'm the size of two people, though, so.
Oh, okay, I understand that. Some people are.
It's just me, buddy. It's
right.
just me. I'm actually in my office right now. This is my actual work desk. This is where I work out of.
It's a pretty office. I mean, it's very colorful. You got a lot of knickknacks in there.
I'm a silly guy. Guy.
I can relate, mate. Okay. All right. Well, you're a regular guest on WATP, right?
I am. And, Carl and I do a show together every week that
that's
isn't
it.
WATP. We do a show called The Creep Off every Monday at noon. And I'm sorry, Mondays at 1 for the new year. You could watch it on Carl's channel, Who Are These Podcasts? You go right on there and you could watch us live. And we do a true crime podcast because we feel like everybody else in the world is doing such a poor job with them. Carl and I decided to step it up and put out a good one for people.
Upgraded. I get it. Okay. Did you guys just start this recently? Because I don't remember him mentioning it last year or in 20. Well, when I interviewed him last year, he didn't mention it. Did you guys just start it in 2023 or?
Unfortunately, no. He's very good at not mentioning it. We've been doing it since 2020. We actually started about maybe a month before the COVID lockdown.
Okay. Oh, wow. And you did it in spite of the lockdown. And whereas I had a 4-month hiatus because of the lockdown.
It was the only thing that kept me sane.
Oh, I know. I'm sure nothing kept me sane, and I hope nothing ever will.
There you go.
Okay. Well, tell me about you, Vinny, because this is what, as you know my MO when it comes to interviewing people. I profile them. I try to find out what they were like as younger people and how they got to where they're at now. You're obviously, judging by what I'm seeing behind you, you're a very successful entrepreneur or what you do.
Yes, I'm a very successful entrepreneur. I actually work for a comedy club, Harrison. I'm in the back offices of a place called Comedy at the Carlson in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
I am very lucky to have my own podcast studio inside of the club. I do a couple of shows out of here. I do the Creep Off with Carl, and I do a show called the Carlson Cast, where I interview comedians, kind of like you do. I like to find out, a little bit about them and what makes them tick. Now, because my background is in stand-up comedy, Harrison.
Okay. Okay. So,
So
I assume that are you now doing at your comedy club? Do you perform regularly as well on stage? Or?
this last year I kind of took off. I took off a year because I wanted to sit back and watch shows and kind of freshen up a little bit. But
Okay.
I'm going to be back on stage coming up here in February in a couple of weeks with my good friend Jim Florentine.
Okay.
You might know him from that metal show on VH1 and Crank Yankers on Comedy Central.
Oh, wow.
Great comic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to be doing some shows together. We're doing 5 shows, the 18th through the 20th. CarlsonComedy.com for tickets.
Maybe you could get him on my show. Is that possible?
I bet you Jim Florentine would jump to do your show.
I've seen Crank Yankers. Well, listen, you got to elaborate on the title of your podcast, Creep Off. What is that all about? That sounds like a somebody that's considered a sexually deviant person that it's devoted to people like that. Just you have to come on with a moniker like that. But you tell me.
What's amazing is you nailed it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Carl and I both loved talk radio back in the day, like in the 90s and the 2000s.
Right.
And I was always obsessed with the stories when they would come on and they'd be like, you got to hear this story about this wacko, what they did.
Okay.
That's the stuff that fascinates me. The real crazy that's out there in the world. So on the Creep Off, the reason we call it the Creep Off is because each week Carl and I compete. We have our own competition.
Okay.
And our listeners will pick a category.
It's a friendly competition, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not friendly at all.
Gotcha.
Harrison, you don't want to get involved in this. It gets
You're
dirty.
Right, but
we play dirty. We play dirty. So what basically happens is our listeners will pick a category. Last week, we did the Creep of the Year for 2023. And we each make a nominee of somebody who we think was the biggest creep for whatever the category is. And then we make our case like reverse lawyers. My guy's worse. No, my guy's worse. And we argue. And then the listeners vote.
You're bringing to mind something right now that's in the news, and I'm sure you're aware of it. That and I was ordinarily I wouldn't have brought this up because I don't want to get in trouble with anybody because I want everyone to love me, especially when it comes to my show. But look at the list of the Jeffrey Epstein cohorts that's coming out, and all these people who have been named that have somehow been involved with that sex trafficking ring that he.
Did you see the names on there?
I know. You had that lawyer, that one that the one I can't even think of his freaking name.
Dershowitz, Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah, Alan Dershowitz.
Dershowitz.
Even had Stephen Hawking, the little guy that was in a wheelchair, the metaphysicist, and you had but not only that,
he had celebrities too. He had what's his name? What's his name from the old Howard Stern show? He had Stuttering John on there. There's lots of weirdos.
Right, but you heard, but the most amazing thing about this situation now is, from what I heard, is that Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, said that Jimmy Kimmel was in that list, and why would you say something like that? I mean,
you shouldn't make up things like that.
Exactly, I know. I mean, anybody
like I just did about John,
right?
But it's okay.
Well, you're always knocking John.
I'm just kidding around. It's one of those things where the world is filled with crazy and you don't really realize how much of it there is. When I first pitched the idea of this show to Carl, he was like, Vinny, this sounds completely insane. And I'm like, it is. It really is. It's bonkers. It's a crazy thing to do. And he goes, where are we going to find all of these stories? And I'm like, trust me, I got it. And every week we end the show with a story about 5 people who got arrested for absolutely crazy things you never thought you'd hear about. So it's a pretty sensational show. We talk about the worst of the worst. That's why it's called the Creep Off.
Wow. Okay. Well, so what kind of feedback do you get? I assume it's been pretty excited, right?
Mostly tasteful feedback.
Well, have you ever gotten anybody to call in and deny that, like somebody, let's say somebody heard their name on that list and somehow the rumors got misconstrued and you were wrong. I mean, have you ever? I mean, you could very easily be threatened with legal action by people if they say that that it's an incorrect statement about them, right? I mean, doesn't that something concern you? I'm just wondering.
Not really. Sure. I think it's a fair question, but I think that we both try to do our homework, or at least I do. I can't speak for Carl.
Okay.
I try to go with people who've actually been convicted of crimes.
Okay.
Like if there's like a court record and you were found guilty,
Yeah.
I have no problem saying what you did.
Okay. Well, as long as the public knows about it, all I'm saying is,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
And
Well,
I try to make sure to put in the minutia there. This person, this is what they're accused of. They're waiting to stand trial if that's one of the cases.
right.
And when you report the news and you report sources, I mean, I'm probably the last person they're going to get to.
Well, yeah, except that you got a lot of people listening in, so it does. I mean, all it takes is if there's you in the technology of podcasts that we live in now. There's the spoken word circulates almost infinitesimally in a split second. So you just never know who might be listening. That's all. So that's all I'm saying. Listen, you know what you're doing. If you're having fun and it's not a problem, then keep it up.
I will. Thank
you.
you. I'm planning on it.
Tell me about your history growing up. You grew up in Rochester?
No, I grew up in San Diego, California, actually.
Okay.
My father owned car dealerships, and he had a terrible accident when I was a kid. And we had to move back to Rochester because they didn't think he was going to make it. They wanted him to be near his family. And
wow,
he pulled through.
Wow.
And Rochester is kind of my hometown. It's home to me, even though it really wasn't originally.
Well, I know, but you wouldn't, if you were still living in San Diego, would you be doing these podcasts? Isn't it? It's probably better that you're in Rochester now.
No, I would look like $1 million. I'd have long flowing blonde hair. I would be totally ripped and I'd be surfing. I would not be doing podcasts if I had stayed in San Diego.
Okay. Well, so what about now? Do you ever go back there?
Nope.
Well, you must be happy in Rochester, or you wouldn't be there.
I am. It is home.
It is.
Yeah. This is where my dad's family's all originally from. This is where they all settled. So, when I was a kid, we'd come back here to visit. When we ended up moving back here, it wasn't like a foreign land to me. It was still, it was better to be with family during stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So now, when you work at that comedy club, in addition to doing you took some time off not to actually perform. What do you do now? Just set the people up? Do you bring in the talents? How does that work?
I do. Part of my job is I handle booking the opening acts for the club,
okay,
the MCs, and we have two different showrooms here. We have our main showroom, which is amazing. It seats about 350 people.
Okay.
And then we have another room called the Rickles Room, which we dedicated to the memory of good old
Don Rickles. You're a hockey puck?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. So the Rickles Room is kind of my purview. So I try to book as many different types of shows in there as I can.
Did he ever perform there?
No. We opened up right around the time after he died.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like a in memoriam kind of a thing.
Okay. Yeah, he was definitely a legend.
Oh God, yeah. Absolutely.
Well,
our main room is named after Kevin Meaney, another comedy.
Oh,
legend.
I know Kevin Meaney. He left us. I used to love watching him on Dr. Katz.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That was one
about
of
Dr. Katz.
Well, don't forget he's a New Englander like me. He's from the Boston area. I think Newton, Massachusetts. And I remember now my cousin, as you know, is Sarah Silverman, and her sister Laura who's also my cousin, was the voice of Laura, the receptionist on Dr. Katz. And
that's right. Small world.
Small world. And in 1998, I had about a 3-hour long conversation with Laura before she came back east to start the new season of Dr. Katz, because they did the audio portion of it in Watertown, Mass, which for people that don't know New England or the Boston area is kind of infamous for that marathon bombing event that you may have heard from back in 2013. Yeah. But this was long before 2013. So I got to go and meet up with Laura and some of the other actors, including John Benjamin, who was a pretty funny voiceover, voiceover actor, I guess, because that's what he's been done. He's done that. He's done that Cleveland show. I think he's done a voice in that. You know who he is, John Benjamin?
Yeah.
Okay.
John Benjamin, absolutely. He's the voice of Archer, the voice of Bob on Bob's Burgers. I know who he is.
Bob's Burgers, right. And he was also the voice of Ben Katz, John's, wayward son, who didn't, just 24 years old, just didn't do anything, which was pretty funny too. So I got to meet some of those people, and I was always a big fan of that. So Laura is, she's one of the, she was the main star. She played the receptionist, and it was pretty wild. So who amongst other act or comedians have you had on in your club that I might know of?
Oh man, where do we start? Colin Quinn,
Okay.
Mike Birbiglia, Nikki Glazer, Marlon Wayans. Oh man, I could go all day long here. Bob Saget,
Oh
uh,
no! Wow, the late
Gilbert,
Bob Saget.
the late Bob Saget, the late Gilbert Gottfried was here
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Wow.
Pete Davidson played here.
Pete
We've had a
Davis
lot
is
of
going to be
people.
playing in Boston next
Yeah,
week.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. We've had
Okay.
a
So,
lot of comics. I could go. I mean, I could probably keep going.
well,
Like
what I'm getting at is if you could get some of them on my show, that would be really cool.
listen, I barely get them on my show, and I work for the club.
Oh, okay, right. Okay. Well,
I'll see
hopefully
what I
those.
could do for
No, I
you, though.
appreciate that though. All right.
Sure.
Now, do you write material currently at all? Are you doing
I
anything
am
like
right
that?
now. I'm actually
Okay.
workshopping some stuff. I went and I did something I haven't had to do in a while. I went and hit up some open mics this week. I'm
What do
trying to get some sets
When
out,
you
some
say,
new
what do you mean? Hold up,
jokes.
hit up open mics. You mean set up open mics, or you didn't
I
actually
go
go?
there to perform. I
Oh, you
went there
performed.
just to
Okay.
try out new jokes,
Oh,
which,
okay.
I've been doing comedy for a pretty long time. When I was doing things a lot, I was booked quite often. I didn't really have to go out and do a lot of open mics all the time, but it's really fun. I'm having a good time doing it. It's like kind of getting back to the roots of stuff.
Of course. How many clubs did you do? Have you done open mics in, like, say, like within the last 6 weeks?
Oh, well, they weren't all at clubs. They were at like bars and stuff like that. I
Oh,
did
okay.
3 of them in the
Okay.
last, like, I've just started back. I've been writing for a couple of weeks and I just started trying to get the words out on stage over the last week or so.
Okay. That's interesting.
But I haven't gotten off the couch to do any of it since last year. So it's kicking the rust off, is really my main goal.
Okay. Well, ultimately, I think is it possible it could be one of your newest New Year's resolutions to just get off the couch and do it now that we're in 2024?
Probably not. I'm probably going to go do 5 shows with Jim and then head directly back to the Davenport.
What's the Davenport? Oh, that's the club that
Couch.
you work.
That's
Oh,
the couch. It's just a fancy word for a couch.
Okay. I would have thought it was the relaxar. I just made that up.
The relaxar. Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
Yeah.
How about this? I'm going to go back to the lazy boy.
Okay. I'd rather have a lazy girl, to be honest with you.
Good point.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, tell me now. Do you have wives and kids or anything like that?
Yep.
Or
I'm going on 15 years of marriage, no kids. Thank God.
oh yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Just frees you up. Is your wife in comedy too?
No, my wife is actually works in the non-for-profit field. She works for a national non-for-profit, and she helps people dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia. She's a really good person. She's kind of the opposite of me.
Okay. Well,
she's good looking. She's a good person.
And she's ready for you when those afflictions affect you too, if necessary, right? That's the bottom line.
Yeah, we're getting her ready. Hopefully, I'm trying. I mean, it's been interesting. She's been with that agency for I think maybe 6 years, and I've learned a lot. I've done a lot of things with them. We've done some good fundraising stuff. They have a thing called the Walk to End Alzheimer's every year, and they do it across the nation. I've learned a lot. And,
oh wow! Okay.
They do some really good work, so it's pretty cool.
Great. Yeah, and that includes because I find my parents are getting up in years and they're still hanging in there. They're 88 and 87. My father's going to be 89 this year, and I just found him. But they both having trouble walking. Their minds are clear and they can drive, and they meditate every day. But my father is looking for a Tai Chi instructor, so I found him one. So because he's going to help him maintain his balance or it's going to help him improve it and possibly is equilibrium, because he sort of has trouble with it every now and then. So
that's a unique approach.
Oh, it
I
is.
like that.
I like it too. I like the fact that they're still spirited enough to want to do this stuff instead of just walking around, staggering around the house.
It's a great omen for you, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. Well, I'm already 64, so and I feel pretty good.
Yeah, you look good, my man.
Getting over a little cold, but I feel a lot better than I did even just yesterday. So I mean, that's life. Unfortunately, we don't have the Martian blood that kills all that story, the War of the Worlds. The Martians got a cold. They died because they didn't have the immune system.
Yeah.
Fortunately,
took over the entire planet, took over everything, and what got them was germs.
Okay, listen, my tech guy wondered if you were a musician too. Are you?
No, sir.
Do music? No music. Okay, that's what I thought. I was just making sure. Well, anything else? You ever done any? What about acting yourself in addition to comedy? You been in any films or done any theater? and things like
No,
that?
no,
Things
I'm
like,
not really for that. I did a web series called Dark Justice. It was kind of a comedic part. I did like 2 episodes of that, which I guess it did pretty good. The guy who did it won a couple of awards. I'm not sure which ones they are, but I guess I should probably start taking credit as being an award-winning actor then.
well, you should. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at, because
Yeah.
I like it. It almost sounds like a spin-off of Creep Off.
Well, I don't know if that's what it was. It was actually more
But it was
it was
fiction.
well, yeah, it was fiction. It was kind of poking fun at not social justice, but the justice system in general.
About 10 years ago, I used to do topic time interviews on the road and on movie sets and stuff.
Wow.
And up in New Hampshire, they have this web series. I don't know, they may still have it, called Paragods. And it was a dark humor. It was a story of people and first responders with lots of, sick stuff, that this dialogue between the participants, but there was all, that was kind of shocking, that made people laugh, but there were always awful things happening too. I
Yeah.
remember what I would do is I would go up and I would interview members of the cast, and then I would also be part of the cast as well. So the one scene I did that I remember, I was a mourner at a funeral of somebody that had just been shot. And it was like the next sequel to the first episode, where somebody got shot, but we don't know who the person was. It was somebody that was a main character in the show. And I never found out who it was, but I did see myself in the scene. So that was kind of swell. I make a good morning.
Would you turn it off when you saw yourself? You didn't watch to see what happened?
No, I watched it, but I for some reason, it just was over my head. I wasn't sure who it was, but I did make a good mourner. I looked, somber. I didn't cry, but that's the best kind of mourner, is a guy or a person who just looks kind of like, stone faced. I'm very good at being stone faced, because I used to be stoned so much. Not anymore. Yeah.
Well, I think that, if you were to describe my performance in Dark Justice, would also probably call it stone faced, because I'm not a good actor.
Well, what did you play in Stone? What did you play in Dark Justice?
In Dark Justice, I was a man whose house was robbed.
Okay, so it was just one episode.
Well, they brought my character back. It turned out I murdered my whole family.
Oh, great! I love it.
But they brought my character back. It was like, hey, it was this guy the whole time, and like they got pictures of me and stuff up, was the joke. But yeah, from the first episode to the last episode, there was like a little weird arc for my character that I didn't need to act in it because I was that bad. They're like, listen, we'll just show a picture of you. You stay home.
Well,
how
many episodes were there?
I think like 10 or 11.
Okay, and where did you shoot this? All in Rochester?
It was in Rochester. A guy named Mike Gerbino did it, I believe.
Okay. And so whose house did you use as a set? Your own?
No. I don't know. They just gave me an address and I showed up.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome. And how many people were in the cast?
Man, in my scene, I was in it with like the 2 leads.
Okay.
Those were the only people. The only actors were the 3 of us that were there for the shoot that I was on.
Okay. So what in terms of, have you ever done? I know you don't do music. Have you ever acted or done have anything to do with a music video of any kind?
A music video?
Yes.
No one has ever put me in a music video. No.
Okay.
I feel like I should be cast in a music video. Do you know anybody?
Well, I don't. Well, not specifically, but that's what I'm wondering. Do you have musicians at your comedy club too, or just comedians?
You know what? In our Rickles room, we do bring in some musicians. Carl's a great musician. His band,
yeah, I know. He did my song.
Has played here. Oh yeah.
He did.
Yeah, his band's played here. We've had a lot of bands here, but not like big bands. We try to do them more as like events for fun.
Of course, for fun. No, it's all for fun. But what I'm getting at is, maybe you could, if you had a good band in there, maybe you could, if that had a really good song, maybe you could choreograph a music video from one of their songs, something original. That I'm always looking for ideas to give my guests that might behoove them down the line. Just a thought.
Here's what I'm gonna go ahead and say. If you have a band, I don't care how bad your music is, and you would like me to come up with a music video for your band, please, by all means, hit me up on Twitter at Vinnie Paulino. I will be more than happy to start a music video for any of you out there. My pleasure.
Go. Well, Vinnie, guess what? We're down to the final 5 minutes of the show. I hope you had fun talking to me. I hope my performance in 2024 was just as good as the one a year ago today.
I think you may have surpassed it. You're doing good.
Bad or worse?
Oh, surpassed. You did better.
Oh, good. Okay, just making sure. All right. Well, Vinny, you did a great job. You're a very colorful dude. Great to talk to. I love, if you can get me more guests, that would be awesome. You got my digits,
I can do
obviously.
for you. I'll see what I can do for you.
So is there anything coming up in the next, I think you mentioned something what you got going on in February. Anything that you might have overlooked that you want to mention that's coming up? Because I always ask every guest that.
I got a couple of my next 3 dates that I have going on is I'm doing the Jim Florentine shows at Comedy at the Carlson, January 18th through the 20th. I am doing another podcast that I do with the Potato, Cardiff Electric, my dear friend.
Oh yeah,
we do a show called.
I interviewed him. You know that.
Yep, I do. We do a show together called Subreddit Surfing, and we are doing our very first live show on stage for an audience coming up on March 9th in our small Rickles room here at the club. Tickets for.
So you're going to be standing next to a live Potato on stage, is that it?
Oh, we are putting some heavy investment. A Massachusetts gentleman by the name of Lockie McDonald, amazing tattoo guy out of Boston, is making Cardiff a very special mask to wear during the show. So It's going to be a lot of fun. And then also we're doing a live WATP down in Tampa Bay, I think in March, 24th. So WATP Live, I think you get tickets for that if you want to come down to Tampa and see Carl and the rest of the gang. Those are pretty much my plugs, man. This was so much fun, Harrison. I could talk to you all day, man.
Thanks. That's that March 24th. I'm sure there's no coincidence that it would be spring break and all the ladies are going to be flocking.
Yeah, that's why Carl booked it down there. He likes him young. He's a weird guy.
He's a normal weird guy. We got to love that. All right. Well, Vinny, you did a great job. We're going to wrap the show up. Would you stick around and let my tech guy take a pic for you for Facebook? I'll tag you in it and you can tag me as well.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, we're wrapping up the second topic time episode of 2024 is in the books. More great to follow, more great ones to follow. Signing off. See you later. Rolling out.